This is the Pierburg 2E3 for the Volkswagen T25. This model that I've got here is the H version, and I got it in a job lot, and you'll see it's pretty battered. These are pretty bent, these parts, these screw parts here, and this one's actually snapped off. So the previous owner obviously had a bit of a battle with this one. But what I'm going to do in this video is dismantle the whole thing, just disassemble all the parts, just to show you how it kind of all fits together. In the video that I've done before for the rebuild kit, it shows you the opposite of me rebuilding it. So watch this first if you want to deconstruct your Pierburg 2E3, just to know what goes where. For this you'll need a hammer, you'll need some screwdrivers, a pipe wrench, and probably about, I think it's about 11mm socket or spanner. But I'll go through the different parts as we go through. So yeah, this one I got in a job lot. So if I break it as we're doing this, don't worry, it's fine. The two parts on this side, you've got the automatic choke mechanism here that feeds into the water pump. What you could do is leave this on your van. So there's 3 screws here, so 1, 2, 3. So if you undid those, you could leave that part on your van, so you don't have to worry about disconnecting your coolant system there. And this is where, so that part normally just sits in that hook there. This is your throttle, so the wire will come in through here, hooks in there, and pulls that around. That's normally attached to the manifold. So you could actually leave this on the van and those two parts, so you're only taking this section of the carb away. So just the first part is there's a little clip here. Let's see if we move that out of the way. So there's a little arm that you just need to pull out of the way. There we go. And then that will allow this to come free. It's pretty stiff because it's gumped up. There we go. So if you pull that free, that little clip, you'll then be able to pull this off. So there we go. I'm just going to take the choke off as well. It's good if you've got a container to put all your screws and bits and bobs in, just so you know what goes where. You could clean the outside body of this with white spirit and or fuel and a paintbrush before opening it up, so you don't block everything when you're doing that. But what I've just bought is an ultrasonic cleaner. So what I'm going to do, after I've undone all this and took all the bits off, I'm actually going to run it through ultrasonic cleaner and then just see if that actually works very well. There we go. So 3 screws are off, and you'll now be able to see the interior of this with the spring that expands out as it heats up. So I'll just put that aside. You'll notice this has normally got one of these on, but it's been wrenched off. Okay. So there we go. So with those 2 elements off, you could leave those on the actual van and then just take this away, take this off the van to work on. The next part I'm going to remove is the fuel filter. So this is the inlet pipe here, and within this section is a tiny mesh filter in a cone shape. What you need to do is use a screw and put that in. Just twist it in, and there's 2 little clips on either side of it that you'll be able to clip onto and then pull it out. It's nearly coming. There we go. So that's it. So this is the fuel filter. This is absolutely full of crud. So whoever had this carb in the past would have had really serious performance issues, because you just wouldn't get the fuel coming through there. Let's see if that actually comes out. That is filthy. Look at that. There we go. If you sprayed that with some Wind's carb cleaner, that would actually clean up really nicely, so you could reuse that. Okay, so round to this side, I'm going to remove the little heater here. It's just one screw. And there you go, that just comes away. Then we've got the idle cut-off valve here. I'm going to unplug the pull-down unit vacuum pipe. When you take this off, you might have, and if you are reusing this or replenishing it, sorry, there should be a little valve in here. It will look like this, and that's a restrictor valve. It's about 0.1 millimeter, and that restricts the amount of vacuum going through into the pull-down unit there. So make sure you check this tube to see if it's got one of those and put it aside. So I'm using a pipe wrench just to clip round here. There we go. Once you've got it going, it will just come off easily. Again, you'll see that this is pretty damaged, this one. It's really bent, so you couldn't really reuse that one. Okay, next I'm going to take off the second stage pull down unit, which is here on this side. There's a little elbow there, but I'll take that off in a sec. So there's two screws, one here and here. You can't get to the other one because this is in the way, so you need to take this elbow off first. And that just unclips. There we go. So it just pops off that little round part there, that round elbow bit. So you move that out of the way and then you can access that one. There we go. Okay, that's the second stage pull down unit. Throttle pull down unit. So the automatic choke, which sits here, you'll see how that controls the flap here, and you've also got the step down unit part here, which is controlled here. So to remove this part, there's 3 screws. Okay. Okay, there we go. So as you pull that out, it will unhook. This part will unhook from the little cam that's inside there. So you can put that aside. So now the choke pull down unit here, it's got a roll pin in that hole there, as you see. So what you need to do is hammer that out. I'm using this little bolt, which is the same size as the hole. So I'm going to line that up and then start whacking, and it should knock the roll pin out, if we're lucky. There we go. You see, if you use a sharp object, it will expand out, so have to be careful. There we go. So that's the roll pin removed. Okay, so the pull down unit will move this way towards you. There we go, and it will pop out. So there we go, that's the pull down unit. The next step is to take the 2 halves apart. On this model, which is the H, there's 4 screws. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, which hold these 2 parts together. On the original version, without a letter, So you see this is the H here. The one without the letter has an extra screw here in the centre, so it has 5. So I'm just going to undo this. Okay. So with those 4 screws undone, 2 halves will come apart. So I'm going to work on the bottom half to start. You'll see this is the gasket, paper gasket. Just falling to bits slightly. There we go. I'll just scrape this off. Okay, so I'm going to take off the fuel injector, which is this one here, and you just twist it off. Pull it upwards. There we go. So you'll see there's an O-ring there, and there's a red filter as well at the bottom, and they come apart. There we go. So the rebuild kits come with another O-ring that you can put on there. Apparently there's a ball bearing inside here, so if you whack it, you should be able to hear it move. I don't know if you can, or you wiggle it. But that's the injector. Okay. Now I'm going to take off the fuel pump, which is this part here. You'll see this one has a longer diaphragm, so it's the later model with a 19mm diaphragm. The earlier models had a 13mm on that. Okay, with those 4 screws removed, you can just pull it off. There we go. This is the diaphragm, and underneath here you'll have the spring and the valve as well. There's a lot of corrosion actually in this one. You can see that there's a lot of rust and corrosion. It's caked up the inside of this quite badly. So this should pop out. There we go. So in the earlier models, it's actually got like a warning sign kind of shape to it, but it's different in this. Okay, it should just pop out. There we go. Next is the part load enrichment valve, which sits on this side, and it's just 2 screws. So it'll pop off and you'll have a spring. And the actual valve itself is this section. Yeah, it's always on a bit tight. There we go. Again, there's a lot of build up in there, you'll see. When you come to fit your new valve for this section, you'll need to add this part here. So to remove this, just use some pliers and clip it off, like so. There we go. Yeah, oh my god, look at all that. Yeah, the previous owner must have had a lot of issues with this. No wonder it was so battered on the outside. Must have got really angry. Okay. So now I'm going to take off the mixture screw, which is hiding here. What I'm going to do is screw it inwards, because if it was in good condition and at its correct settings, we can return it to that when we refit the screw. So I'm going to screw it in and see how many times it takes to do so. It's 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 1/4. So I'm just going to screw it all the way out now. There we go. And again, there's quite a bit of corrosion on this one. The manifold spacer here, you can see there's a bit of a crack in this side. It shouldn't affect the sealing there, but this should actually come off, so I'm going to prise that away. If I can. There we go. So it looks like there is a paper gasket there between those two parts, but it's in a bit of a state. Again, this surface will need to be cleaned up before, if I was going to refit this one. That's just an old vacuum pipe there. So this section with the spring can apparently come off. I've not tried this before, so bear with me. So that unscrews. Okay. So I'm not sure how we get this off. So I might have to whack it with a hammer and see what happens. Okay, so that's that part free. Now this has got a spring attached, so it might shoot at me. That came off. There we go, there's those two bits off. So, and the spring just comes straight off like that. So that's free now. I'm struggling to take these screws out at the moment, which are holding the throttle plates in place. If you can get them off, it'll allow you to slide these sections out and then clean properly in those areas. When I put it through the ultrasonic cleaner, hopefully it will move things around a bit to allow me to take it off. So that's the bottom half with everything removed apart from the throttle plates. Now onto the top half. Again, you've got 2 screws for the throttle plate here, and that goes into the cam there. This is the float. It's got a slightly different float needle from the early models. Instead of having a little clip, it's actually built into the float needle, this hook, essentially how it hooks onto the float itself. There's a pin, again there's a pin securing this in place, so we just need to remove that. So you want to whack it out this way. There we go. So that's the pin. With that out, you'll be able to take this off, and then you can see the actual float needle itself there. Using a flathead screwdriver, I'm going to remove the primary and secondary jets here. So they just go in like that and come out anti-clockwise. Oh, these are really brittle. Again, there's a bit of corrosion in there, which is why I probably can't get this one off. This will need replacing. Onto the top half, with these later models there's a mesh here. You can pop that out by poking from the rear end. So there's little clips, just push those in and it should pop out. There you go, so that's the mesh filter there. There's the air corrector jet, which is here. There we go, that's the air corrector jet. This funnel part here, again, you push it out from underneath. On my earlier model it was more or less impossible to do so, so it depends if yours is stuck or not. There we go. So that just pops out there. So I'm just unscrewing the choke flap to take that off. Just 2 screws. These screws will allow you to move it around if yours is slightly out and rubbing against the edge. Okay, so that's the choke flap. You'll see in this one it's actually got a hole, so that pulls back depending on the vacuum. That'll open up a slight amount. Apparently these two parts can come out as well, so we'll give that a go. In the rebuild kit is a tiny round gasket, which I couldn't work out what it was for, but it sits behind this part here. You'll see here. So now we know where this hides. That's half of it. So that gasket goes behind there. Yeah, it doesn't look like, oh, there is, yeah. So there's a gasket for that one as well, for this side. There you go, paper gasket. I've removed as much as I can from this carb, so hopefully that gives you a better idea of how everything kind of fits on and how you take things off. Obviously some of the things I've done don't repeat yourself, such as the jets. This one's a right mess now. Completely stuck on, but it shows you how soft they can be, so you have to be very careful when removing those. Maybe squirting some plus gas or something like that to loosen it up beforehand, probably a good idea if you're struggling with that. And again, with the screws on the throttle plates, I've ruined the thread on these two sections here. Again, maybe squirting that with plus gas beforehand or loosen that up so we can take it off. But in my next video, I'm going to put these two parts in an ultrasonic cleaner. So we'll see what happens there and if it really cleans it up and what kind of difference it makes to the regular cleaning that I did on the carb in the other video. Okay.